All right, let's see here. There we go. All right, well, welcome back. Actually, we've got one other order of business here. We actually have an additional member that just signed up 90 seconds ago. So Lee Van Interstein, N1SCQ, Lee. Oh, there it is. All right. All in favor of Lee joining us? Yeah. Right, excellent. All right, well, thank you. All right, well, again, my standpoint, among the things that clubs should be doing is sort of helping to spread information about various aspects of the hobby. And for some people, it might be learning something new or adding to what you already know. And we're fortunate that we've got really a wide breadth of knowledge here in the club. Tonight, Joe is going to talk about some mystery equipment that showed up a while ago. So, Joe, why don't you go ahead and take it from there? And here we go.
Okay, is the microphone working? Okay, well, my voice is a little weak, so that's a good help for me to have that. I'd like to begin by making a disclaimer that if you find this stuff not to be of any interest or excitement, you can blame Rick NN2K, because he's the one who actually got me started on this project. Okay. Also, as a former lecturer, I'm aware of the fact that if you give a lecture or presentation that lasts more than maybe 20 minutes, you're starting to kid yourself, and you'll notice the audience begin to glance at their watches or start to yawn. So anyway, here goes. My presentation is about the thing you see on the screen here, which I labeled here the mystery equipment. The guy was a club member, K2 OSD, Doug Friggin brought this a couple of years ago and set it out and wondered, does anybody know what this is? Can anybody say anything about it? And nobody had any idea. So that's where Rick came in. Rick sent me a couple of photos of this piece of equipment. And this was the first one of the ones that he sent me. And I'll see if I can make this work. I got to push a button here, and let's try this one. No, well, somebody's going to have to show me which button to push.
Page down, arrow. This doesn't count up to 20. There you go.
That one?
Click the left button.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, this is the second of photos that Rick sent me of the piece of equipment. And this is a view looking down through the top. And the actual radio is right in front of you here. And so I looked at these pictures and said, oh yeah, that's a early 1920s super heterodyne or super het receiver. And I could tell that because of the, I don't want to touch the computer, but I'll come over here. And these, this, and this are IF transformers. And
So up on top here. Right.
okay, I can just move
Yeah.
the cursor and
Yeah, just move the cursor. Yeah.
I guess you have to know a secret, well, it's moving sort of backwards.
These are the.
Well, let me just, not,
All right.
I'm not gonna use that. Anyway, I said, well, it's a super head receiver, obviously. And obvious perhaps to people who are interested or knowledgeable about vintage equipment. And in addition to that, Rick sent me a brochure that's also on the table up here. He sent me a cover, RTS, and there's the inside front page. Guaranteed wireless equipment catalog. And notice at the bottom, radio testing station, and notice the address. It's a Binghamton, New York address, Sturgis Street. Interesting thing, the street number in this catalog is wrong. Because he lived at, 25 Sturgis Street. Anyway, I learned from Rick that it was this Doug, K2OXD, who had brought this. So I contacted Doug and told him, I've seen these pictures that Rick sent me. I'd like to come and take a look at it to get some more pictures and so on. So Doug said, well, that'd be fine. I'd like to have you come over, but the radio is not here. And he then explained, it's in the trunk of my car and my wife is away. And he then explained, well, it's in the trunk because I don't have room for it in my apartment. And his wife made him get it out of the apartment and put it in the trunk. And I said, you can't have a 100-year-old artifact like this in the trunk of your car. And so I said, well, I'll take it and I'll see if I can't find a home for it.
He lives up in Indian Ridge. He's the neighbor.
Yeah, no.
So I ended up with it in my shack and in my shop. And this is taken after I had moved it to my workbench. And this is a picture I took just before I started working on it. It had really very nice storage, but after 100 years, even in a good environment, it was really quite dirty. And I spent probably a couple of months just cleaning everything that you see there. And I also learned from Doug where he had gotten this. He got it from the great-grandson of the guy, from the guy who had actually built it. And this is the guy who built it. And it's covered up here with this little thing at the bottom, but this is okay, thank you. Thank you, Drew.
Yeah.
You said 25 Sturgis Street?
25 Sturgis Street, yep.
I live at 26 Cary Street.
Cary, that's within a block or two of.
This backyard borders on my backyard.
It used to.
It used to, but
It
it's not
used to,
there
but
anymore.
it's not there anymore.
Because when they built the highway, they
Yeah,
built the 81. Route 7 went up and they cut all those streets that connected.
yeah, that's part of my presentation here. Okay, I want to back this up.
You go back, use the arrows on the keyboard.
It's interesting.
Right here.
Well, yeah, I just.
Hold on, yeah, hold on.
Computer technology is a wonderful thing.
So, either way.
Okay, okay, this guy, Charlie Reynolds, in that photo, he was under 20 years of age. And Charlie was raised in Binghamton, lived his entire life here and lived until the 60s and until they took his house and place of business away on Sturgis Street. And Charlie was an early wireless, early ham, and this is from a call book. One of the very first radio call books, and I highlighted Charlie there. Charles L. Reynolds, 25 Sturgis Street, Binghamton, New York. And that was his call sign right there, highlighted 8 Oscar Papa. And
What year was it?
Huh?
What year was it?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Charlie was born in 1900. So Charlie was 14 years old when he got his license, and he'd been interested in radio and wireless for several years before that. Charlie, it turned out Charlie was the owner of Radio Testing Station, and he ran a business all of his life of one kind or another. And he started off early. This is a classified ad from a magazine, where his first ad that I found that he placed was in January 1915 magazine, before we entered World War I. And again, you can see his name down at the bottom and his address. And he was looking for early wireless equipment and had some junk to get rid of, like we all do now. Okay, and this is a picture of Charlie's station in, as it showed in Radio News magazine. It's an early radio, ham radio magazine, the December issue of 1919. And Charlie's, this photo appeared because he'd won a contest for the best ham station of that particular month. And he won, as you might be able to read down at the bottom, $5 prize. If you translate that into today's dollars, it's probably something over $100. Well, another interesting thing you'll notice is on the right front corner of the desk, that's a pencil sharpener. And if you're going to be a CW operator, you want to have and be able to keep sharp pencils right at the ready. Okay, so this is December 1919, and this is the first ad that I found for his business, Radio Testing Station. And this was just a month later in the January 1920 issue of the same magazine. And here he was advertising Galena, and some of you would know what that is. It's lead sulfide, and you could use that to make a crystal radio. And again, Radio Testing Station, 25 Sturgis Street. Now I have a couple of visual aids, or a couple of things to pass around. It turned out
Actually,
that,
hold on a second here. We're gonna just get you off of, I'm gonna stop the share, just so you can show it on the screen here, so that the people on the live stream, on the Zoom
Where do I-
can see it. Yeah, right here, so you can sort of see.
oh, okay. That's a crystal cat whisker, so-called crystal detector. And in the bottom of the little round part, there is a piece of galena. And not long, or when I was nearly done with this project, in looking through some artifacts that I've got, I found this little wooden tube, which I knew that I had, but I
Back up a
never
little bit.
never looked at it very carefully. And it turns out that this was some of the galena that Charlie Reynolds had for sale at his business. And I knew that because looking it over, I could see 25 and then a Sturgis on it. So I'm just going to pass these around. And when you look at this thing, you'll see there's a little tiny fine wire there. That's called a cat whisker. And you touch that to the galena, and we give you a crystal detector if you played around with it long enough.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna switch mic because we got some distortion on that particular.
Joe, would this be called a cat whisperer?
Yeah.
Amazing.
That might be my voice.
No, it's ridiculous. Oops.
Okay, oh no, there's something on the screen that needs to go away.
Okay. Let me go back to sharing again. All right, there you go.
Good to have somebody that knows,
Drew, maybe
knows
turn-
what to do here.
maybe point the camera at Joe.
I'll show you.
Not sure where it's.
609 Green Avenue.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That is the first thing.
Here's another one of Charlie's ads for, again, tested galena. This is the first ad.
I mean, I used Germany and I was making my.
Oh, no, Noah, we can't, if you're, Noah, if you're talking, we can't hear what he's saying.
Sorry about that.
This is the first ad that Charlie placed. It was not a classified ad, and this one was in QST magazine in, 1920. Okay. And the pamphlet that, I guess I'm gonna pass this pamphlet around too. And I've chosen a couple of pages from here to show off what was in Charlie's pamphlet. This was from the early 1920s. There's no date on it, so I can't tell exactly when, but before 1925. And notice I highlighted there the wonder tested galena. Okay. And here's one more piece of, this is one of the only pieces of hardware, the radio testing station that they made right there on Sturgis Street, that they sold in this standard detector panel. It was not a complete receiver, but part of a radio. And if you look at the bottom right illustration there, you see the straight lines of wiring and the right angle bends. That's the same kind of wiring that Charlie used in this in his super het receiver. Okay. Now, here we're back to the receiver itself. And if you look at the, I'll just point out a couple of parts here. The round cylinders right in the central part, those are the 4 intermediate frequency transformers. I'll have a little more. I have a 1-page theory section. But those are the heart of a super heterodyne type of receiver. Okay. Now, after I'd cleaned this up and I thought, well, now I'm ready to pass it on, I thought, maybe I'll see if I can't get it fired up and make it work. And that, as I described it in a piece I wrote about this, that was my big mistake, because that took months of working on this. But here's a picture of it. Now, the color of the tubes isn't real here, isn't really quite right, because I just took this with available light. But it does show nicely the tubes, show the tubes all lit up. And this was after I had spent a lot of time working on the radio. I first had to find a set of tubes that were the correct tubes to go in here. And there's no way to look up what tubes really ought to go in here, but when you're in the business, as I've been for years, it was clear right away what tubes it wanted. Okay, here's my theory section. And I said this is a super het receiver, and what does that mean? Well, that's a receiver where there's right here, you'll see, well, you see the IF amplifier. That's the stage where almost all the amplifying in the radio takes place. And these receivers, this type of receiver was invented during World War I. And so at the time that Charlie built this, they had only been around for maybe 5 years, but it was the newest of new technology back then. the advantage of this kind of receiver was that it could have much better selectivity than other current receivers of the time. Now, what I've done is if you look at the top, you see where it says RF amplifier pre-selector. I've got it lined up so that if you look straight down the first tube on the left, that's the pre-selector and the next stage, the first detector or mixer stage. And the way a superhead receiver works is there's another local oscillator signal within the radio, and that mixes with the signal coming down the antenna and produces a signal at the intermediate frequency. And that, let's see, the local oscillator is the second tube there from the left. And the IF amplifier, that constitutes the next three tubes right in the center of the receiver. And those are the three tubes that amplify the intermediate frequency signal. And the fourth tube, the third one from the right, is the detector that converts it from an intermediate frequency to audio. And then there's an audio amplifier. And there's two stages. The last two tubes are the audio amplifier stages. Okay. Now, if you look carefully at this photo, you may notice that it's a little bit of a fake. It's a mirror image of the photo, and I took its mirror image to get it to line up with the diagram above. That diagram is taken from a mid-1930s book about super heterodyne receivers. Okay, and the mystery superhead uses an intermediate frequency of 110 kc. Some of you may have heard of a common one of 455 kilocycles, but early in the game there were all different intermediate frequencies used, and this is the one that was used then. And I picked a couple of local stations here. WEBO, it's in Owego, and WENE, it's in Endicott. I can see the antennas of WENE from my house. And they're on these frequencies, 1330 and 1430 kcs. The local oscillator in that receiver over there, you have to set it to 110 kilocycles lower than the station frequency. And if you have a calculator and can do subtractions, you can see that 1220 minus 1330 is 110 kcs. Same for the WENE station. And that's my theory page. Okay, now, here's the receiver set up and actually in operation. And I'll point out a couple of things here. Notice the bright light on the one piece of equipment there. That's a power supply to supply the high voltage for the tubes. You can't see it, but right above it is a 12-volt power supply set down to 6 volts that lights up the tubes. That's for the filaments. And there's a third power supply which supplies another voltage used for the detector stages. So anyway, there is a setup with where the receiver was actually operating. Now, on the next slide here, this shows the challenge that this receiver has to face, or any receiver today has to face. This lower large peak, that's WNBF at 1290 kcs. And then the little tiny peak in between the two big ones that's WEBO and Owego, much weaker. And then there is WENE in Endicott. All right. And I've got another display of this. This is a linear display, which is what the receiver actually sees. And in a more modern receiver with automatic volume control, this is a logarithmic or decibel scale here. And if this WNBF, the tallest peak there, were at, say, S9 plus 30, the poor little WEBO would be at just S9, 30 dB weaker, or about 1,000 times weaker. Okay, so that's the challenge of this particular superhead. I wondered, could I separate these two stations? This I did on a modern spectrum analyzer. Okay. All right, so this says
Audio from.
audio from the mystery superhead. And this is a demonstration of the radio actually operating. Yeah, okay. And
Yeah.
okay, and this is audio recorded from the horn speaker. You may see my fine print. Some of you might not appreciate the music. How many of you know what song this is? Anybody? Yeah, raise your hand. I'm curious. I would like to know.
Red wine, red wine.
Yeah, it's familiar to me now because I've heard this any number of times. Anyway, this will play for about a minute. And then I'm gonna tune to WENE.
This song was from 1920.
Oh, wait, let it,
Oh, okay, sorry.
tuning is part of, okay. Okay, there I'm starting to tune the local oscillator.
UB40 was the door presented. Red wine.
Never heard of it.
On my skin. I get a feeling that is what's going to happen, or is starting to happen with SGA when I see the Minnesota Timberwolves react the way that they do.
E&E and Endicott. The station is Endicott, so
For WENE and Endicott,
so much stronger because it's close to you.
yes,
They did a good job of separating it.
it's very fussy tuning. But it did it.
What are you using for an antenna?
About 25 feet of wire laying on the floor.
Okay, I hope there's no names, Dan, you're bringing you into the conversation. That's the way you play a long time ago. A long time ago. Danny Byers, there's a way that we play on the playground, okay? There's no trash talk.
And here I'm tuning it back. Is that the same song? I guess it's a fairly long song. Okay, well, that's enough. Doesn't sound bad, does it?
No.
What trying to do?
I'm just gonna go on for minutes.
All right.
Oh, it started early.
There we go. Now you can go with it, which I should be able to. It's on your PC, it's on the remote.
Okay. Okay, so that's the, okay, yeah, this is just a reminder of, what the, superhead was able to do to separate little WEBO from this one. I didn't switch to WNBF because I really didn't want to have to listen to the audio from that station. Okay. Okay.
That'd be your test.
Just a couple more.
Okay, now you go.
Okay. Okay, and just as a review, this is another picture of Charlie at his station. Just after World War, well, probably in 1920.
Do you know how old he was around this time?
Yeah, well, he was born in 1900.
Oh, okay.
So in 19, well, you have to do the subtraction. And here's a picture of Charlie in 1978. This is from a newspaper article that was about him. And his call, he'd owned several calls through the years, but in 1978, it was W2KY. And he died a couple of years, well, a few years later in 1982. And I think, whoops. Oh, I hadn't intended to, well, I'll leave that there. Anyway, that was a look at it backwards in time, and this is a look at the current time and modern radios. Your cell phone and if you buy a radio today, it uses this as its basis. This is the formula that's used in the algorithm for fast Fourier transform, which is the heart of modern stuff. Okay. And that,
Didn't go that high.
okay, they're good at the right screen. So that's where I'm gonna stop. And how did I do? What time is it?
Good. Did you do that, Charlie? Did you know Charlie by any chance?
But no, who?
Did you know him?
Oh, no, I didn't. I would add that after I had finished this and written my magazine article about this, a guy contacted me who knew more about Charlie than I did. And thank goodness, he's gonna get the receiver. I'm gonna give it to him, well, now that this presentation is done, it's moving on to somebody else. Okay,
No.
that's it.
Excellent.
All right. Well, thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Okay.
And,
Joe, what
shut off your-
voltage? You mentioned the high voltage. What voltages did it use?
Between 100 and 150 volts.
Oh, okay. And that was gotten through the house that had electric?
No, this would have been done with dry batteries.
Wow, wow.
Oh, yeah, I suppose I have to give this back.
We hear you for the next week. Take batteries, take batteries.
All right, well, thank you much. That, I think, officially ends our meeting tonight, but we can continue to talk, but I would like to get home at some point. So, but anyway, so tomorrow, 11 to 6 o'clock at Tractor Supply in Vestal, Doug's Fish Fry. And again, get there early for the onion rings. Otherwise, we'll see you then, and we'll see you in
The
October.
canal, come up to the.
And come up to the canal, exactly. All right. Thanks again. Take care.
Last year, how many people there, right? You walked away.
I'll be closing off the meeting here.
Okay, I was just come looking for those. Thank you.